recording, and I'm about to do the tweets, because we're live and stuff. I still have the voice.
OMG Game of Thrones type, though. Anyone else? I've watched the first 3 episodes.
Not in particular.
The quality is actually pretty good, just saying. Just saying.
Is it bad that I recognize people more by their Twitter handles than I do as them as individuals?
Yes.
Because we're live and stuff.
No, I mean, no. The answer to that is no. I only recognize people by their Twitter handles.
Well, now that Tenebris has his Twitter on my feed, now I recognize who he is.
Oh my god, I forgot I was going to text Justin and be like, guess who the fuck's on TOROCast right now. Hold on.
Suddenly shit got exciting. I don't know.
Well, yeah. Because kind of Tenebris Spring here is like, it's like, evil and light fighting together against the developers.
What? Which one of us is the evil one?
You're obviously the evil one.
What? What? How am I the evil one?
Because reasons, mostly.
The Bastion sweetheart.
Oh my god, I went to Bastion, it was bad. I left and came back.
Oh my god.
Like, no, this is terrible.
It's like going to Tijuana for the weekend, basically.
Okay. Increase your audio again, or get closer to your mic, one of the two.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
how
you.
about I do both?
Or both. Both work. I'm glad I'm going to be quiet most of this episode, because I'm just...
You're derailing things more than usual.
Yes, well, I'm trying to get things set up so I don't have to think. That's really what I'm doing. Yeah. My mind doesn't want to work. It's awful.
I shouldn't have gotten as high as I got, but...
I don't know.
How's that? Better?
Yep, that's great.
Such is life.
Is that... We're good? We're
Yep,
good?
you're good.
Yep.
Sounds
All right.
great.
Alright.
Now I just need Twitch to stop being evil. I need to see numbers.
I know what the problem is. Okay, I have Skype automatically lowering me. There we go. How's that?
Auto adjust is the worst.
Is that good? We good?
Yep.
All good?
Yep. Sounds good. Sounds almost perfect. As perfect as
almost perfect.
Yeah. Well,
almost
you can't
perfect.
ever hit perfect
now,
otherwise.
Now I'm done. I'm out.
Damn it! Dang it, Bobby.
That's pretty good.
I hate myself.
I don't know. I think there is when you try to pay attention. So, I hadn't seen Revan yet until like last week, and
like the new
were just,
story part.
Yeah,
Revan?
no, like I hadn't seen Hard Mode because I just like hadn't done it.
Okay.
And so like, and I was like, the first 4 bosses of everything is like so fucking easy that I just like got blazed during the raid. And then we like decided to do Revan Pulse, and I was like, this shit is too much because like. Phase 1 for healing, like there's actually things you have to pay attention to instead of like nothing that you have to pay attention to, like the other fucking 4 bosses. So
tell us how you really feel though.
And like I haven't watched anybody do it, so like I didn't know any of the mechanics. So Buenos was like explaining it to me, and he's like, "You want to go over there and stand there, and then like cleanse people when they think." But he didn't tell me that you like have to wait, otherwise you like explode things on other people, and it's like AIDS, it's space AIDS.
I don't think anything will ever beat the time when we were trying to figure out the mechanic and I shrouded myself as the dot hit me and I exploded all over the raid.
I don't even know what that means, but it sounds amazing.
GG, Tenebris.
I was like, oops, my bad guys. You can probably just jump in the pit now.
So basically, Revan throws out this dot that when it is... Like, Cleanse doesn't actually remove it.
Okay.
Cleanse causes you to basically death field on yourself. It's basically the death field radius. And anyone inside of that radius gets the dot. And the person who cleansed you also gets the dot. And if you purge it from yourself, it also death fields everybody around you. And being melee, you're kind of near the tanks and like halfway between the ranged and the healers and stuff. And you keep... I'm guessing you basically put it on the entire raid, right?
Oh no, every single person had a dot.
Oh, yeah, that par for the course.
I was like, yeah, so we should just go jump in the pit now. My bad.
I don't even know.
Because basically the healers take it from you by cleansing you, and then they step into these circles that actually cleanses the dot. So basically they collect it all onto themselves, take this huge amount of damage doing so, and then they get the circle to cleanse them. And hopefully
actually, like,
aren't dead by then.
And cool mechanic. The problem is that it fucks melee again, like every other mechanic in the game.
Yeah, we have to go stand like 10 meters from the boss so we don't actually hit anyone with this stuff.
Yeah,
Oh wait,
and-
that's right. Hatred can't really hit outside 10 meters anymore.
It's like, it's okay. You can do 2800 DPS on the first floor. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it.
But there's One Direction road.
What? Oh, no.
I made
No,
a
there's
One
not
Direction
actually, because one of the
joke.
members quit, so...
There's still One Direction.
I don't, like... no.
They're still One Direction until he goes and gets like Beyonce level status, and he's not. Even though he's the
I'm
cute
glad
one.
you're saying he, because I don't know any of their names or what any of them look like. No, wait, no, that's a lie. I actually saw a display for one of their albums in a Walmart once, and I'm afraid that I'm going to have to actually say this on record. One of them looks like Musco.
Oh, I need to look at this up now. Oh, man.
One of them looked like
Which
Musco.
one's like Musco?
I don't know, one of them had a shaved head and looked like Musco. That's the direction we're going with, really? The pre-show involves One Direction jokes? I don't know. Sigh.
I actually don't think that any of these people look like Musco. Oh no, he does. He does kind of look like Musco.
I have now put that in your minds. Any of you people that follow One Direction will never be able to unsee Musco.
I don't think that anyone here follows One Direction. If you'll have to look it up, I don't think anyone follows it.
I would hope nobody here follows One Direction. That would make me very sad.
What's
Hi,
One Direction?
Rose.
Yeah,
Hi, Target.
exactly. North. That's One Direction.
Rose.
Huh?
True.
What?
South. South is another One Direction, right?
Okay, I have to like do things today.
Okay.
Ooh.
I'm
Congratulations.
gonna go with north by northeast. Is that an option?
Ugh. You're getting complicated there.
How about South by Southwest? Anyone gone to that? I haven't.
No, that's too like pop culture hip for me.
Really?
Yeah.
If you say so. I don't know what I'm trying to insinuate by saying that at all. Probably nothing.
I'm from the Pacific Northwest. We like on anything that's hipster that's not like from here.
I'm from the Northwest also. But the country part. Aw.
No, you're from the Northeast. Okay.
I'm from the Northwest. Idaho is in Northwest.
Yeah, but ew, Idaho is Idaho though.
Oh. Come on now.
It's like
There are some great things about Idaho. You guys just don't even
potato
know.
fields.
Well, yeah, that's where I'm
bugs.
from. I'm from the area where all the potato fields are.
May hipster. Wow.
It's
Justin.
awful because it's all desert.
Justin, I had to show somebody. There was like a thread on Reddit, SWTOR Reddit the other day that was like SWTOR gifts for people. Like, what should we give someone who plays SWTOR? And I was like, let me tell you, I made the best
A hard
SWTOR gift in existence.
Cookies?
No, I made him a Kefis the Undying mug. It's like a coffee mug with pictures of Kefis and explosions on it.
I just want one of them to be like, you need to have the different versions of Kefis on there.
I do. They're both versions of Kefis are on there.
But is he totally
it has-
hulked out, or is he just kind of like beefy?
I don't know.
'Cause he needs to be totally
I
hulked
wish-
out.
Yeah.
Designed
Okay.
on
Yep,
Etsy.
my
So
life.
You need more what in your Kefis in your life?
Yes.
everyone needs
When do you
more
think
Kefis.
they're gonna put a Kefis statue in? Like,
Never.
how is that not a thing yet?
It's gonna go straight to the cartel market and sell millions.
The
Yep.
golden Kefis.
I will
It-
throw my wallet at the screen.
It will pay for the next expansion, guys.
Didn't you know Kefis is the last boss of the final operation in this expansion?
Kefis ate the Emperor, okay?
Kefis
No,
is the
He's the
emperor.
emperor.
I thought the Emperor was like the Kefis ate a pizza and he's got heartburn, and that's kind of where the Emperor's hanging out right now.
Are you trying to say the Emperor is acid reflux?
Bantha steaks.
Yes.
Confirmed. The Emperor is actually acid reflux. We've never escaped him. Alright, the hell with this. Let's start the damn show.
10 seconds of silence.
Hold on. I need to load the music, May. Which means I have to find the audio file. Worst show ever! Oh, that is the wrong shows. Yeah, I almost did my Elder Scrolls show that I haven't done in a month. Okay, silence, and then we'll get to the introducing part. And, yeah. Going now. afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of TOROCast, Star Wars: The Old Republic's longest-running fan podcast. I am your host, a slightly drugged-up Road, and joining me today, as always, is May. Hello, May.
Hello, Road.
How are
That
we?
you're hurt.
Well, you know, it happens. You get old, you lift a box, you throw your back out, you go to physical therapy, and hopefully stuff just works itself out.
I'm glad that I'm Asian and that I'll be like 25 until I'm like 60 and then I turn 120. So.
Well, that's why I grew a beard, so I could stop looking like I was 16 all the time. I got tired of getting carded. It's a true story. So, also joining us today is Miner. Hello, Miner.
Hello, Road.
Are you having fun yet? You're so
I'm
quiet over
having
there.
loads of fun.
You
I
sound
feel like
so
we
excited.
let him. I feel like he like locks himself in the closet and like works on the database, and then the one time he sees sunlight, it's like to come out and do TOROcast.
Well, I'm working on the database while I'm doing TOROcast.
So
Does
he's
that
in the
count?
closet doing the show. Great. Well, I hope you're comfortable because it might be a long one today. Also
Yeah,
joining
Tom
us
Cruise
today.
in here.
Oh, that's a South Park reference. So yes, moving on. Don't want to get sued. They'll do it, I promise. May, introduce your guests. Thanks,
so,
May.
Yeah. I will set this story up. I logged
Uh-oh.
into Raid and they were talking about assassins last night, and I was like, "Hey, we should have an assassin episode." So I asked my guildie Elias to come on, and if you should introduce yourself.
I'm Alanis. I raid with Exit Area on the Shadowlands. I don't get to play my assassin very much anymore. That makes me really, really sad. But I really like the assassin because it's the best class ever, right? And
Right, yeah.
I've been doing a lot of theory crafting for it recently. So they asked me to show up and talk
And I felt
things.
yes, and I felt like if we were going to have any sort of assassin talk, that I was going to have to ask our next person because he's a high-profile assassin. So, hi, Tenebris.
Hey guys, I'm Tenebris from Death and Taxes. You know, I suffer through making an assassin work on hard mode content for reasons I still don't understand.
You like the pain.
You know,
Like
some
making
people are
everyone
just
else's
into it.
life harder.
It explains most of my life. Just trying to make everything work in the hardest way possible. And it doesn't work well for me, though. I'm no professional. So, here we are again, and I feel like this story time isn't quite complete, so let's just talk about that a little bit. What put the idea of having an assassin episode in your head, May? I mean, it's not like we plan things in advance, because we absolutely don't, ever. But,
Well, so there was the 3.1 patch was this week, and part of that patch were a couple class changes for a few different classes, but the class that really got the most changes and the significant changes was Assassin. And many have argued that Assassins are OP and that the changes needed to happen, but many Assassins are saying that they have completely gutted the class and made it unviable to the extreme. So we'll be talking about all that later in the episode. That's like the big chunk of what our episode is, and we'll get to that after the news.
Operative.
oh...
You're just bitter.
Alright, so let's go ahead and do a little bit on top of our introductions. What's been going on the last week or so? And we'll start with Miner, because Miner's been doing things in his closet.
Yeah, I'm a little lost in thought right now.
I'd noticed.
Yeah, I've been working on the database. I've been logged into SWOTOR for a little bit. Didn't do a whole lot. Trying to get some more stuff up on the database that is functional. Should have crew skill missions. By the time you hear this, crew skill missions should be up. And yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing.
That sounds
You're so wonderful.
extremely exciting.
Yeah.
Thanks for being amazing and being able to do things like that.
Bringing
problem.
content to the masses, because they need it. And they need it from as many sources as possible. So, May, what have you been up to? Not making any commentary.
Rating, I like wiped 1 billion times on Master Blaster this week, and nothing makes me more aggravated than wiping on Master Blaster, because it's like easy, and it's not easy, it's just like everyone has to do what they're supposed to do and pay attention. And sometimes that's hard for people that play SWTOR. So yeah, and PvP'd a little bit, but not that much. I've been playing HOTS a lot and doing lots of videos and all of that. They recommend on YouTube that you make like a intro video for your like page, right? But I'm like the most awkward person ever, and having to talk about myself for 2 minutes is like a really awkward thing. So
That's
it's
actually
weird.
how I got onto the shows. I had to talk to myself for 5 minutes.
It's a weird thing.
Yeah, I would record me talking about a topic for 5 minutes and then send it in. And then the jackasses that hired me for the show never listened to it. They accidentally deleted it. I got on anyway. So,
Sounds about
moral of the
right.
story is I don't know. There might have been one there.
Tenebris, what did you do this week?
I raided a bunch. I learned how to power tech because why play assassin anymore?
Because Paratech OP.
Yeah,
How many how
You guys
many
make me
like
so sad.
groups do you raid in?
We have one main raid, we have an alt run, and then I have like a friends run that runs whenever we're not doing normal raids.
Gotcha.
So
That's a
there's
lot.
that, and I'm already on top of the PP leaderboards pretty much, so there's no reason for me to do raids anymore.
Are you top 3?
No, that's not gonna happen. I'm on pot 5. Let's be real. I don't get enough
Oh.
games.
Well, I mean,
That's
you could
true.
carry people to higher ratings, sell your services.
Look,
I know
here,
there's
I'll
a
give
lot of
you
that
something
going
to
on.
do. All you need to do is just log on and take my way. Just carry me to a higher rating. How about that? I will make
Oh, yeah.
it
Yeah.
really
Five
difficult
used to
for
be
you.
such a PvP server too. That's crazy.
We don't have 4s on pot 5. There's like 3 teams that play, so we
Mm-hmm.
couldn't carry people if we wanted to.
I don't have a 60 on pot 5 anymore either. I think I have a 50. I haven't played there in years.
Alanis,
So,
what did you do this
additional
week?
challenge.
I raided a bunch and was just generally lazy.
My
Barely
God,
got done some theory crafting that I wanted to do in time for the show. So that was nice. But mostly I've been lazy. It's been nice.
Feel
Because
that.
Road.
I didn't really have to do anything this week.
Was it like a note you were just had all you had to do is play Star Wars? Those are the best weeks when all you have to do is
Yeah,
play
pretty
video
much.
games. It's a nice thing.
Nice.
Nice.
Eat and sleep. But, sleep is
Eat and
optional.
sleep and SWTOR. And Daredevil.
Oh, dude, Daredevil. So good.
My boyfriend said that we were watching it, and I feel like I should talk to Road. You'd appreciate this. Is that he would Punisher's doable if they kept the level of violence the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
It'd be
And that he,
amazing.
like wants to see it.
It would be
Yeah.
like the best.
I made a GIF that was, and I titled it Superman versus Daredevil because there's a movie called Stardust that both those actors are in, and they like sword fight each other, and I was like, wah, ha, ha.
I know which one you're talking about. I've
Yeah,
seen
Stardust
the last
is-
10 minutes of that movie.
Yeah, I like that movie Stardust. It's not really trying to be anything, and it's kind of corny, but I think it's a good movie overall.
Have you ever read the book? The book is amazing. It's a Neil Gaiman
No.
book. Okay. Library life. Road, did you do anything this week? Other than-
Literally house cleaning. I've
You have a broken back. Please
I know.
stop doing house cleaning.
no, I mean like in the game. I went to
Oh.
one of my 2 strongholds and I just picked everything up. Because I'm tired of it. I don't want to be in Dromacos anymore. I love the rain effect, but it's too dark. And
Oh,
I don't like
it's
the
depressed.
steely...
The ambiance of it all.
No,
is-
like if I could take
sad.
the Coruscant stronghold and just have the rain effect outside of it and not have Coruscant outside, then I would love that. I like the insides of the Coruscant stronghold better than the Dromacos one, but I don't have those options because no one loves me. So, at least no one at BioWare. So, yeah, that's what I've been doing. Actually, fun thing is I am on some pills because I hurt myself this week on my job. So, yes, I'm temporarily on workman's comp, and it's not nearly as much fun as I would like it to be. But
That's
actually,
that.
some of my MMO games, of the 3 that I play, they actually are giving me motion sickness playing them, which is something I have never experienced before.
It's because it's the pills.
Yeah, it definitely is the
messes with your
pills.
vertigo.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
and
messes with your vertigo. That's
and
the issue.
it's not good. So I've actually been playing a lot of during the Easter sale that we had last week. Green Man Gaming had some fun dollar packs where you get like 7 random indie games. Well, not so much random. They told you what they were, but one of them I got was called Quest Run. It's like a phone game, only there's no cash shop, and it hates you with a passion, and for some reason I have dedicated about 15 hours of time to that game, among some other 2D based games, so yeah.
Because you hate yourself.
Pretty
that's
much,
why.
yeah. I enjoy the fact that I can't get anywhere in that game, because it is just too hard. And I'm bad. So yeah, that's been my experience. House cleaning. Very exciting.
Okay. Why don't you read the contact information, Rod?
Read it. I have it memorized.
Oh, do you really? Go. I'm
Yeah.
impressed.
So, if you
That's
like
okay.
Elvis, you can, of course, find us at TOROCast.com to read and comment, hate, and subscribe on iTunes. TOROCast.com/feed if you use iTunes. Email me at road@TOROCast.com, which nobody ever does. At TOROCast on Twitter. We are part of the Twankamera family of podcasts at TwanKamera.com. For now, you can find us every Sunday at twitch.tv/TwanKamera at roughly 2 p.m. Eastern Time, or, whenever the hell the show starts. And, of course, if you'd like to help us out, you can go to TwanKamera.com/audible. It's AUDIBLE for your free 30-day trial. One free audio token. That one token will buy you an audiobook. They're great. Do it. It's free. What's wrong with you? Just get it done.
Go get Tarkin. It's done by the guy who voices the Inquisitor, and it's a really good book.
And not the Tarkin that's in our live chat room, for those that are listening to us after the fact. Totally different people. I think we established that, though. So anyway, this week in SOTOR news, May, you get to carry this episode, because
Yeah,
I'm
so
on
we
bills.
will kind of touched on the 3.1 patch, or sorry, the 3.1.2 patch and the 3.1.2a patch that happened this week on Tuesday and Thursday. The A patch was kind of the oops patch because the low slash was bugged.
Oh, that was
And-
so much fun.
Did you PvP while it happened?
Only like a duel or two, but it was still so much fun. And then walking into a PvE environment where things don't have resolve bars, that was hilarious.
Oh, could you just like do it to all the trash or something and just keep everything?
Mhm. Walking into his Temple of Sacrifice, Cole was on his shadow, and I got to watch him just stun lock 4 enemies at once.
Tenebris, you PvP'd, right?
Oh yes, I did. Oh, it was glorious. All you have to do is hit low slash, and a healer has to barrier. It's pretty fantastic. I
That
missed
was-
it already.
Did you? I saw that some people were having like groups of like three shadows going in and doing it.
Solo queue essentially devolves into whichever team has more shadows wins.
Oh, you did solo queue? I can't believe that solo queue was even popping while it was like an issue.
Well,
Oh, it's because everyone was just playing their shadow.
exactly. Whoever got the first low slash off pretty much got to 100-0 the other shadow. It was fun.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like complete chaos. And so it's good that they fixed it. There's been some reports of other kind of bugs that have happened also since the patch. The EU players are complaining about a lot of latency. I know that Madmar got kicked on like Thursday from his raid. A bunch of people got DC'd. I got DC'd on set. We were doing a 16-man and like half of our raid DC'd.
Poof. All at
Yep.
once.
We had a full raid DC also. Like 5 of us DC'd from like a little alt run thing we were doing.
Yeah, and so there really isn't anything on the forums about it. The last time I checked, there's some reports of it, but no actual dev response. So we'll see what happens if they can figure it out. There is also a double XP week that they announced from the 16th to the 22nd in honor of Star Wars Celebration.
What they're really trying to do is get you to stay home. They don't want you going to Star Wars Celebration.
And embarrassing the rest of
conspiracy.
the Star Wars community. I mean,
Oh man, come on. You make me sad sometimes.
Well, does anybody care about a double XP week when we know that 12 XP is coming back?
And it's coming back only like 6 days after Double XP week ends.
Is it?
Yeah.
3.2 is
that when they
or
announced
3. Yes, 3.2 is supposed to be 12 times XP returns. I think Miner can talk about
On
that
the
a more.
on the cartel market, right?
I have not been paying attention. Potato's been doing most of the mining work.
That's been a potato mined thing.
Okay.
I've been very, very distracted as of late.
But apparently you're supposed to be able to unlock the ability to turn off an inhibitor, and there's going to be one that some inhibitor that can completely negate experience you gain, so you just stop leveling up completely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because there are
planet.
crazy people out there that complain about getting free experience.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like twinks because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah,
if they
they're
turn
adding
off
twinks.
experience. Why are they?
Like-
That's like the why would they? This game already has balance problems and like mid-range PvP is messed up. Like, why would you want to like throw twinks? The
Well, I didn't look at it
experience
too
of
carefully,
twinks.
but it looked like you could just turn it off for planets, not for like all activities.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I haven't looked into it.
I would
Let's
hope
get
they
into
wouldn't
part
let
of
you
it.
turn off XP gain for all activities. That would be really dumb.
It's not unprecedented.
Oh, Swole
in other
Potato
games.
says they removed the complete experience eliminator in the last PTS build.
Yeah, I was thinking that, but I wasn't quite sure since I hadn't been following along. So might be a whole lot of noise for nothing.
They also announced a bounty contract week from the 21st to the 28th.
Whoopee.
Yeah, I feel like that's
I
everybody's
haven't
response.
cared since the first week.
I haven't cared since the second, because that's when I maxed my rep.
Would you care, Tenebris, if there was like new things that they added to it?
Probably not, because I have hundreds of bounty things stored up, so I could just go buy whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
You can just buy them, but more than the time investment. Like the way they arranged, like the time layout to get you to have to take the time to do the bounty quests was so asinine that I never want to do it again.
I've never done it, so I can understand you there. It bored me just trying to do my first bounty. I was
Well,
like, why
it's
would I
so
do
ridiculous.
this so many times?
Like the way that they got you to spend time doing it was travel. And the whole thing was travel. You got there, you did something, you had to travel to another place on the opposite end of the planet. And it was just silly. Yeah, that whole bounty contract week I thought it was a fairly bad design. But that's my personal opinion.
Something else from this week is, and this is by UC, and he's a player, and it's on right onto our community, is the ranked PvP stats. And so he did one of these before, and they covered, it really broke down the number of like games played, the average, like the population across the different servers, the different classes that were played. And if you like ranked PvP and you do ranked PvP, you should really check it out. I don't know if any of you guys saw it. None of you guys are like, most of you guys are not really ranked people.
I'm too
Let's all be
casual.
surprised. There's lots of assassins. Shocking.
Shocking.
Assassins
think-
and Zorks. Shocking.
I always like the across the server one. Like that's the one that's interesting to me, and just like the huge, like I don't know how anyone can argue something when like it's so obvious the huge population drop off that happens between seasons 1 and 2. Though I guess season 3 is better than season 2 across the board, so that's a good thing. And I guess season 4 all the data is like finished, but yeah, lots of assassins, lots of orcs. And then you as you like go through the pie graphs, it basically stays the same. Like you can look at all 4 seasons and look at like the predominant classes are basically the same across all the different seasons. So not that much balance.
And then you look at season 4 and it's just, oh hey look, Inquisitors.
Yeah, it is. But if you like graphs, and there's all different types of graphs. There's line graphs and bar graphs and pie graphs.
I like
So.
pie charts.
Yeah, they're nice. All right. Last news is that they announced the pre-registration page for the Cantina event. And so this is for the Anaheim Cantina, and what they want to do is basically just, I think they're just trying to see how many people are actually for sure coming so they can plan accordingly. And then also so this is what you do is you go to the site and you sign up, and then your spot in the cantina is guaranteed. And therefore, if the event is like overcrowded and they reach capacity, your spot is guaranteed. And so you're not like stuck outside, not being able to go in while they give away things and stuff. Is anyone here going to the cantina?
No.
Yeah.
That's
say that I am.
literally the other side of the country from me.
Yep.
I wanted to go. I was so sad that I have like a work conference.
Maybe
Just
after I
sad.
move. When I move later
You
this
should
year, I'll be
go.
much closer to a lot of these fun locations.
Come to PAX. We'll go to PAX Reunite Road.
I'll
Cause
probably be
chaos.
going to next year's PAX.
We'll cause chaos.
It'll be
Road.
great.
It'll be great. All right. So will you say it?
Oh, would you like me to? That'll be my one
Yeah.
contribution for this episode. It'll be great.
Yes, please. I'd appreciate it.
Moving on to the meat and potatoes. It gets old.
So assassins. Did they get nerfed? Just go with
Strictly,
that.
yes.
Well, yes, they got nerfed.
You can't say no to that. It wasn't nerfed.
Yes, we do less damage and we have less range. We are nerfed.
Okay,
Was it
explain.
ser-
How was it nerfed? Explain to the non-assassin player that doesn't care.
Explain to the
I
person
mean,
who says that assassins are OP, they needed to be nerfed. What happened to you?
Leeching Strike is pretty obvious. It lost its 20% damage boost. Easy. It doesn't do 20% more damage, it does less damage. It
Okay.
also healed us, so we heal less now. By about 16% when you take into account that it's a loss of 20% boost. So
Do you feel like that's the biggest change that got made, or just like the most obvious one?
it's the obvious one. It's the really,
Gotcha.
really obvious one. It's like, oh, it doesn't do 20% more damage. That's obviously a nerf. The other ones are a little more subtle. Yes, Deathfield does have a very large radius, as is it always has and always will, hopefully, have its 8-meter radius, so it can hit a lot. It has a lot of area it covers. And because of that, the 10-meter range on Deathfield isn't devastating, but it hurts. It certainly hurts a lot in PvE, although I don't think it's going to quite do what they wanted in PvP. And then, obviously, the less healing from dots is less healing from dots. We heal less even more. So, boo. That's another nerf.
Yeah, I mean, the actual nerf that we got was a PvE nerf. We're still, I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and say we're still broken as hell in PvP. Like that's
Can still throw out
doesn't
absurd numbers.
doesn't change anything, and they didn't nerf us the right way. So I mean, okay, my leeching strike hits you for 7k instead of 9k. I think my life will continue somehow. I still have a
And-
20-meter, essentially a 20-meter range death field. So whatever.
And I can still spread dots like no one's business. And those dots still tick incredibly hard.
So hands down, you're saying that while the general consensus about assassins and in PvP is that they're super overpowered, they're really hard to kite against, like they are they're the number one class right now in PvP. And so you're saying that the changes that got made don't really affect that at all. It just gutted PvE.
Pretty much.
Mostly, yeah.
I mean,
Like-
it's a Sork or a ranged class will now hit you one more time before you get to them.
Yes.
That's the big deal. They get one more attack. Okay, sure, that's fine. It's
It's
probably not gonna hit me anyway because I'm probably using Shroud, so I really couldn't care less.
or deflection, because I can still be immune to CC for 12 seconds.
So what are the things that needed to change for PvP? Like what should have been the PvP change that wouldn't have affected the way that it wouldn't have affected the PvE game so much?
Half deflection. Just take 6 seconds off deflection and call it a day.
That would have been huge. Like that. If I see people complaining about assassins, it's I can't stop them, I can't stun them, I can't kite them. And
Yeah,
I
shiny,
mean, the
shiny,
kite
no
part
shiny,
has
shiny.
nothing to do with that, and they obviously don't know how to kite well enough if they can't kite you at all. If you're an assassin, you just
Can I jump in here and ask a question?
Mhm.
So these changes now brought assassins, the madness, more in line with what is it called, lethality, and ruffian for operatives and scoundrels. Like you are hamstrung because you have to be so close to your target in PvE. But if you get into range, you can still do good damage in PvP. Is that a fair assessment?
No,
Okay,
because
so
you can't do damage at range anymore.
No,
Okay.
here's how hatred works, and this is I think like where a lot of the complaining comes from. Hatred is a spec where you play as a ranged DPS against melee and a melee DPS against ranged. you're able to kind of kite melee DPS around in like a 10 to 15 meter range and just kind of keep knocking them back and letting them take down to dots before you burst them with your melee attacks. And when you're against a range class, you have the ability to get in close to them and blow them up. The problem with that is that archetype is unique in Star Wars, and it's incredibly hard to balance. Because if you're too good at kiting melee, then you're the best melee DPS because you beat every other melee. But if you're too weak at it, then you're too squishy and you're the worst at melee DPS. And if you're too strong at gap closing against ranged, then you're the best melee DPS because you can gap close on them. But if you're not good enough to gap close on them and stick to them, then why aren't you just using a real melee DPS that can gap close?
So
and the thing about that is, like, if you're good at one half of that, you're basically good at the other because all of your tools basically work the same way for kiting and for gap closing.
So basically, assassins are sort of a much more versatile version of like an operative, because that's kind of how operatives play versus melee. In ruffian lethality, you want to kite them, and then at range, you want to get up in close.
Yeah, the assassin toolkit is huge. Like, assassin is
Compared to operatives,
everything.
where some of the abilities in operatives are, I'm trying to compare them here, okay? Because operatives have some of their abilities tied up in healing, but they only straight heal versus doing damage and healing at the same time. And so they've got the same sort of thing going on, but they've got more drawbacks because they can't just heal while they're DPSing for the most part. Is that a fair assessment, or am I crazy?
You're crazy.
Okay.
I mean,
They can
why are you
counter
even
themselves
talking
now.
about lethality? I don't understand. Concealment's
Well-
like an incredibly broken spec. Just play it. It
Yeah, I
100%
know. I'm
everything
just
in the game.
I'm just trying to say that they've moved assassins more towards the lethality kind of side of the equation versus where they were at.
I just think that they heard everyone complained about assassins, and they made changes that that didn't get thought through all the way.
Well, I'm just trying to. Lethality is
Oh my
basically.
god! If you say lethality one more time,
No, listen to me, okay? Damn it, they have this mindset, and they moving the assassins towards the scoundrel and the operative version of this, because you have to be up and close to use most of your good damaging abilities, and you can only just dot at range. All
Well,
right.
here's the thing, like, Hatred, like, back in 2.8, when Madness Assassin got its huge buff that put its damage at a very competitive place, in 2.8, that's what we were doing as well, even before 2.8. Like, the entire life of the Madness Assassin into Hatred Assassin has always been this balance of, I try to kite melee, but chase down ranged. Because you've always had those dots, you've always had that range. And now they're taking it away. And they haven't done it very effectively, taking away
Okay.
the range.
But I
Because
was-
you're still going to kite at 20 meters, basically 20 meters against melee, and they've brought range an extra global, if that.
Okay. And so, what I was trying to get at is there's already a broken spec, the scoundrel and operative one, and they're pushing towards the broken spec rather than fixing the problems with your spec and keeping the range. Allow you to be okay damage-wise while not being completely unstoppable. So they're going towards the limited range versus controlling the amount of damage you can put out and allowing the class to be controlled by other classes. Is that a fair assessment?
maybe, but isn't the problem with assassin in PvP especially is the damage that they can put out. It's not.
Assassins do not put out overwhelming damage. People need to stop thinking that. People just need to spread out. They're an
They
AoE
need to
class.
stop stacking.
Okay.
Stop
Alright.
standing on top of each other, and all of a
So,
sudden I do
it's-
damage that's less than a Vengeance Juggernaut. I don't understand.
It's the damage. It's the dot spreading at range, basically, is what you're saying.
No, it's not even that. It's people they can't get out of this mindset where you need to just like stack up in PvP for some reason. Like, okay, so
Dangerous
story
to go
time.
alone.
Myself and 3 guildies hopped onto 3 Hatred Assassins and a Juggernaut like a month and a half ago, and we 4v8'd the enemy team. Why? Because they stacked. They stacked so well for our death fields to spread our dots that I didn't even have to lace Death Field. I could just double tap Death Field and be done with it. I'd spread it to all 8 people. Because they just stacked so well for it, and then they melted because they were stacking up for damage from an AoE damage class. And you can't do that. Like,
Okay,
it's just smart play. Don't stack with the amount of dot spread there is in this metagame now.
They're
So-
always going to balance this game around casuals. End of
So
story.
versus other classes that have the dot spread at range, what makes Assassin unique? Is it the death field radius?
What makes Assassins unique is that you can't shut them down.
Okay.
It's the 12 seconds of, you can't stun me, you can root me, but I'll break it. You can't knock me back, you can't do anything to stop the damage output I've got. And so I'm going to get off my dot spread. I'm going to get off my assassinate, leeching strike, assassinate combo if you get low enough on health.
Okay. As somebody
It's-
who doesn't PvP on that class, and I've had PvP'd on dot spreading classes, but I was just trying to get a view of it, okay?
And like, it's a mix of, I can spread my dots really effectively. My dots tick really hard. You can't shut me down, and I'm hard to kill because once I spread my dots, I'm getting huge amounts of incoming healing from my own dots, plus whatever the healers are giving me. And then in an emergency, I can just disappear, and you can't even target me anymore.
And then you
There
can't
is-
heal back up.
And then
Well,
you can sneak
effectively.
away and heal. Well, you can't just sneak away and heal back up. If you let your dots fall off, you can sneak away and even heal back to full.
Yeah.
There's a serious issue with Deathfield, and maybe it's with Deathfield or maybe it's with Guard, but the reason that Hatred is so good in fours is the radius of Deathfield is longer than the range of Guard. So in order to guard a target, you have to take a dot spread from that target.
And
that
then
means
you're
that your
taking
tank,
half
the
of
tank
their
is getting busted. They're taking a dot and a half of internal damage, and they're just getting crushed. That's the actual damage problem, and that is the only one. Everything else, like single target damage or even multi-target damage, is no better than like a Sork or a Vengeance Jug or any of the other good classes.
In fact, single target damage, we're behind most of those. A lot of them, anyway.
Okay.
Like,
That was my
So
card.
that is the problem in ranked.
Yep.
Move guard to 20 meters or move the Deathfield radius to 14, and everyone stops complaining about fours.
Guard to
Yeah.
20 meters would be an interesting.
Would be an interesting mechanic.
Yeah,
It would shift the meta
Yeah.
because you could be much further away from your healer that you were guarding. So yeah.
So you kind of quipped up when I said something about assassins being OP. Do you not think there is no OP-ness in assassins? It's like
Well, I think
It's
a
like
lot
a
of it is Tenebris and I both.
facade.
I know Tenebris PvPs more than I do, but we're both really serious about Assassin in PvE, and when we hear that we're overpowered and we look at our performance in raids, we're just like, no, you have no idea what you're talking about, do you?
Okay, so explain to everyone who maybe doesn't play assassin why the nerfs that happened specifically in PvE, what they affect.
Tenebris, you want to start on this?
Sure. So, melee in this game gets punished heavily, and everyone knows that. You have to move away from bosses, you have to dodge mechanics, you can't stack for certain mechanics, there's all kinds of, you can't be in 4 meters of the thing you want to hit moments. And the reason that Hatred was kind of okay at it is because you can, every time you have to move out, you just reapply your dots, and then by the time your dots are reapplied, you can move back in and get back to your rotation. It's not the worst thing in the world. Now when you can only reapply only Creeping Terror, you're just like sitting there like, oh boy, I'm gonna really enjoy these 5 GCDs sitting out here taking a nap. And then your DPS just kind of goes down, and you're like, well, guess I'm bottom DPS again because I got a mechanic.
And then on top of that, they nerfed Leeching Strike damage, which was a sizable portion of our damage. It's like a 1.5 to 2% DPS loss, depending on how lucky you're getting with your crits on it. It's significant. That is a significant nerf in PvE. 2% is huge for one ability to lose you that much DPS. And
Okay.
for those people who used the bugged relics, they also got fixed, and that was inflating a lot of people's parses in Hatred.
I went from
Because,
essentially 5k to my better parses break 4700.
Wow,
yeah,
I was just gonna ask. So it's like 300 DPS at
at
like
5k, it's 300 DPS.
Yeah, my highest
oh,
parse was roughly 5k, and now I'm getting 47 to 4750.
So
compared to other DPS classes. So like, what's a merc parsing?
okay, so here's the really fun part that I'm very glad I got done in time. I went on to Parsley, and rather than ask Maurice here, Fascinate, to send me all the data I would need to do this, I just took it myself because it's open to everybody. I went and I looked at the top 5 parses for every single discipline on the dummy, on the 1 million dummy, both sides, and I took down the top 5 parses, averaged their time to kill, and used that as their kind of like benchmark for DPS. So when you line them up all next to each other and you take the better of the two mirrors, which, not too surprisingly, it was largely Imperial dominated, because I think people just like the imps more.
Hmm.
Like innovative ordnance mercs, I did this on Friday, which means there wasn't yet enough data after the nerf to innovative ordnance or the nerf to hatred to really get definitive numbers, but the hatred numbers I was able to kind of back calculate where the nerf should put them. But we've got innovative ordnance sitting at 54-15 on the dummy. That puts them at rank absolute 1. When you look at hatred before the nerf, we were at 48-60. We were over 10% behind them before the nerf. We were sitting at 7th out of 18 unique disciplines. And the nerf dropped us about 160 DPS on average down to 14th place out of 18.
Top mark parses
Wow.
are about 5200 now.
Yeah.
They took about 200 DPS hit as well.
But that still
But-
leaves them in second place behind engineering snipers.
Yeah.
Which is basically impossible to pull on a real boss. Basically. It can be done on really big bosses that don't move a lot, like Malafar. But Malafar isn't a boss where the DPS check is really significant.
Right, so isn't that interesting then? You would think that with the meta, like with the PvE meta as far as the boss mechanics are concerned, shouldn't melee be on the high end of that, like in the vacuum dummy parse, because it's obvious that their uptime on boss is going to be less?
Yes, and Watchmen slash Annihilation follows that trend, kind of. Like, the top 5 parses for Watchmen and Annihilation ended up with 5140 as an average. And that put them in 3rd place. And that's good. That a melee should be that much higher, especially a melee dot class. Should be really high up there on the dummy, because they're going to lose a lot of uptime. But you basically don't see Marauders in PvE anymore for the reasons Tenebris already went over. Because they don't have almost any options outside of 10 meters other than a leap in, which will get them killed by the mechanic they're avoiding, or their dual saber throw, which they use rotationally.
So what things then, instead of the nerf that happened, what buffs do you think need to happen to assassins to make them viable again and, really and competitive? All classes should be competitive. So what changes would you have to make so that it wouldn't affect PvP, but it would be competitive in PvE?
You have to
Tenebris?
take away our defensives. Like that's what you have to do. That's the reason we're obnoxious in PvP is you can't shut us down. Our damage was not overwhelming. If you could hard stun an assassin before he dot spreads, he's gonna die. If you ever get taken an ambush, like an auto crit ambush from a sniper,
dead.
You literally take 60% of your HP. That's not an exaggeration in one global. You just die.
And that's a lot of the issue in PvE as well. Like, you've got these huge 30k incoming hits, and you don't have, like, especially like barrel throw. Barrel throw, unless you get lucky and you pop Shroud or Resilience early, you're going to take a 30k hit from barrel throw, and then you're going to have to watch in total terror as a minecart comes in or as a load lifter chases you down. Because you're like, I can't survive the next hit. I'm going to die. And the spike damage is really excessive in these operations. And having to deal with that as a class with just, like paper thin defenses outside of our heals is tough in PvE, but that spike damage is rare in PvP. Like if you get
To
an
that
AP,
extent, yeah.
PT, and a marksmanship sniper going after you, you're basically dead anyway. But you're gonna see that spike there, and that's what you use to hard counter an assassin in PvE. You stop them from getting their heals, and you then just tear them apart because they got nothing else.
Well, another problem that makes you seem really strong in PvP is that all the classes that destroy assassins all get crushed by the other meta classes, like crushed into uselessness. Like Carnage Marauder, there is nothing you can do as an assassin against Carnage Marauder. If he decides you're going to die, he's just going to come kill you, and you're going to be like, oh well, guess I'm dead because a Carnage Marauder decided to kill me. But there's just no Carnage Marauders because the range just wrecks them, and power techs just wreck them, so it doesn't matter. But
And then,
or
like,
snipers, they get globaled by like burst DPS, but snipers global assassins. Like all their counters things are just not in the meta right now.
Because I mean, it's range. Do you think then? So they're nerfing the wrong classes.
kind
Like,
of.
do they listen to the community too much? Like, of course, like a lot of everyone's playing Merc right now. Merc is like Merc and Sork are two like range classes that you're seeing a lot of. So, do people? Is that like are those popular classes kind of dictating the way that other classes are being played or being affected?
Well, sure. I mean, I think that's the meta of the game. It's like when you have 3 really strong classes and 2 of them shut down 4 other classes, then those 4 other classes don't no longer counter the things that they would normally beat to bring balance to the scene. So it's not necessarily that they need to nerf those classes, they need to give those other classes ways to deal with what's keeping them out of the meta completely. Like, Marauders are getting stun immunity, I think that'll really help them. And instead of nerfing Assassins and giving Marauder stun immunity, try giving the Marauder stun immunity first and see what happens.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's a good way to think about it. Is if there are more classes, the bottom like the bottom overwhelming wouldn't be the issue. Because I feel like that's all the problem is that you don't see one sin, you see like 4 sins, and that's why a lot of people complain is because when you're taking the damage that way, it is really overpowered. Like taking dots from a bunch of people is
So
can't
you're
shit.
the too long didn't listen to that is basically if one class is overperforming, buff a counter to them. Would that be fair? Like if scissors are really strong, you better buff them rocks so that they could take out them scissors.
Right, but everyone complains that assassins are OP. Like that's the complaint.
But the thing is they're not seeing what can hard counter it because of how the meta is shaped right now. Like,
Okay,
Right.
so they're
How
not
many-
taking the larger
how many
one.
Carnage Marauders have you seen in PvP in the last couple months?
I don't PvP.
I can't
so-
remember a single one.
No.
There's
Beginning-
there's one on my server, one of them.
So, okay, so the problem is that the counters aren't viable. Like, we have a game that was built around counterplay from certain classes being counters to hard counters to other classes, or soft counters, depending on which terminology and how you want to phrase it. But they've tried to move everybody so that they can be sort of equal, and maybe that's not necessarily the way to do it.
It's just
What's
that,
your
like,
thoughts on that?
It's
other
certainly
classes are OP.
trying to balance by nerfing certainly isn't fun for the people who are getting nerfed, especially when those nerfs also hit outside the intended area they were supposed to, which is what a lot of assassins I know who PvE are really frustrated about now. Because we watched ourselves going from fairly soundly being ahead of deception damage while playing Hatred to I'm struggling to keep up with my deception damage now. And
Right, so-
when a dot spec falls that far behind a burst spec, it really brings into question its viability in raids, because burst damage is important in raids. You have to be able to kill ads quickly, you have to be able to start hitting the boss again when downtime ends, and
So
go back to...
Which are the viable melee classes right now for operations? They'd be
Power techs.
Power
Power
tech.
tech.
Stop talking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I figured that was like it.
Nope,
Like,
that's it. Power
We've
techs.
already Marauders
that's
and Sentinels they just don't have the range to stay on target. Assassins were there until this nerf put you so that you couldn't work outside of 10 meters, right? And and then you just got concealment and the joke that's lethality. That can't really compete because you
Juggernauts
got
can't defend themselves against most of the mechanics in these operations now.
Which is
the
crazy,
defensives.
right? Because Juggernauts in PvP have like the best defensiveness in the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like enraged defense is like they just buffed that.
Well, you just
But-
got to get hit all the time, and like the hits in PvE come in big single hits, rather a bunch of little small hits.
Right.
So like, it came down to that there was only 2 viable DPS classes, right? And they just took one off the table and said, well, everybody that's going to PvE as a melee has got to play power tech, right?
I mean,
AP specifically at this
Yeah.
point, because they also took Pyrotech, and they kind
changed all
of
that.
wrecked that one in PvE too, because you basically have to stand still for 3 seconds out of every 15. You're literally stationary for 20... Wait, can I do math? Yeah, that's 20% of the time you're out there. You are stationary. You have to stand still. You have to hope that nothing's going to fall on you and kill you. And if you have to interrupt that flamethrower, you can kiss your DPS goodbye. Because that's 30-40% of your damage.
Pyro needed a IO style nerf, like a minor, just damage down a little bit type thing. But yeah.
Instead, they threw even more damage into the one thing you just cannot afford to let get interrupted, which you have to because of how mechanics work.
All right, so
These mechanics
at this
kill you.
point, it's the larger. The problem isn't necessarily that they made assassins non-viable as melee DPS as melee, unless you've got certain conditions that are met, are just not viable.
That is
Would
part of
fair
it.
to say?
Viable might not be the right word because people
Okay.
throw away viable as in
Preferred.
like you literally can't do it. Like every comp at this point has pretty much cleared all the hard mode content. So like yeah, you can do it with concealment operatives, sure. You can do it with juggernauts, sure.
Ideal.
But
It is
why?
just so much harder.
Why at this point? Why?
Yeah,
Why
like,
would you-
I did nightmare modes on a concealment operative before the buffs, and I could tell you that it was not a lot of fun trying to. It was so much harder than when I switched to my gunslinger to play it, because my gunslinger just like nightmare mode. What's their name? Final boss of
Brontos is probably what
Fortress.
you're looking
Yeah,
for.
Brontos. Yeah, like just hunker down was crazy. When she
Yeah.
went into that final phase versus trying to stay on her ass when she's running all the frick over.
I mean, even in 3.0, it's still annoying trying to do that. Trying
Yeah.
to run around as a melee after Brontis in that fight is frustrating.
So,
But you look at AP, like, the thing about AP is it isn't a melee class anymore. You can execute almost every single part of your rotation from 15 meters. The only thing you have to do is duck into 4 meters to rocket punch every 9 seconds. And you don't even have to do that if you're willing to take a small damage hit.
We have a power tech in our group when we run 4 melee for Master Blaster, and he literally just plays at 30 meters and runs up to 15 meters to do things here and there. Like, and it doesn't like he still does perfectly fine damage to beat the check.
cool.
It's a joke. Like that class it's not a melee class.
So,
He did 2 rocket punches on an entire kill of Master Blaster.
So melee need to play as ranged, and if you can't do that, you can't play.
You can, it's just you're making your life significantly harder for
And everybody has a billion ults, so why wouldn't you just play something that it's not like banging your head against the wall? Because
Okay.
so many of the fights have like random bugs that like it'll
Oh.
just like screw you sometimes.
Yeah.
I was playing my assassin when my raid group first started to do the hard modes, and at one point we were on Torque, and I was just like, "No, I'm done. No more of
Yeah,
this.
you
I'm
could have
not
like a string
gonna be
of
in a group with
bad
2 melee."
vents on Torque, and it could just be like you could just not DPS like for half the fight because it's just vents and
Huh.
like stuff.
See, Torque I actually think is like one of the best fights to bring an assassin. I said the other
Yeah,
night.
the thing is, we
Torque
had
is
two
Yeah, but like,
melee
could you bring
DPS
two
though.
Marauders though? No, like you could bring an
No, no.
assassin.
No, an
But,
assassin
like,
happens to be really good on that fight, but
right.
I don't want other melee.
That's what I'm saying. It's like a melee. The melee uptime can be so low, like RNG wise, that you just might as well bring ranged.
So yeah.
Basically, yes, that is a lot of the problem with these operations right now. And it doesn't help that now, like even on a dummy, hatred is below. It's like it's falling behind more than half the other DPS specs, and to be melee in light armor with not spectacular damage is an absolute death sentence in PvE. There's like I know a lot of people have said I may have been a little overly dramatic with what I said when I said that there's basically no reason to bring it in PvE, but there you have it. There's not much of a reason to bring it for PvE unless you really, really enjoy hatred.
There are a couple of fights where I think Hatred is an excellent spec, and other than that,
Oh, yeah.
it's like, why are you here? Please don't be in my raid
Like
anymore.
Master and Blaster, you can make the Ion Cutter mechanic almost go
Yep.
away on your own.
Yep, assassin.
And that's
assassin cheese
beautiful.
on Master Blaster is by far like I think that anyone doing like serious progression on that fight should have an assassin in that group.
Yeah, I know Exit Area's Group 3, Civilly, you probably remember him. He actually switches back to his assassin for that, instead of playing as Merc.
Yeah, he does.
For
He
that
pulls off his
specific fight.
Yeah,
One
I mean, there's
fight
lots-
he switches to assassin, and the rest he goes back, because... Yeah, assassin's actually decent on Torque, because you can shroud the fires, but you
and
get
that's
past that,
incredible.
and you can dot spread to all the turrets. But you look at, like, Sword Squadron, yeah, you can shroud a lot of damage, but the target switching is frustrating for Hatred. You look at, like, Underlurker, yeah, you can spread your dots, but you're melee on Underlurker. And that's just an unpleasant
Assassins were
ordeal.
excellent on Underlurker with totally lost range.
Yes. Without the range anymore that you used to have, you are
It's
basically a strictly melee class in a fight where for maybe a quarter of the fight you are snared to 10% move speed. Have fun.
Yeah.
All right, so now I kind of want to talk about just like Assassin 101 because I don't think that anyone can argue that there's some people that probably need some pointers in the game. Like the one guy who was an assassin who had a single-bladed lightsaber. So, what is the best DPS spec for PvP?
Still Hatred.
Hatred and
Hands down.
Darknet. Tanks are actually pretty good too. Shadow tanks are pretty strong.
PvE.
I switch every fight. Although the actual answer to that question is darkness.
But if we're talking like strictly DPS specs, then I would say for a lot of fight, it is a little mixed. I'd probably take Deception on every fight and do all right. But
I've done 10 out of 10 both specs after changes, but like there's no reason not to just bounce between specs on the fight. Honestly, neither spec is particularly difficult to learn how to play at a competent level. Just learn both, and you'll be a happier person, and your healers will love you when you play Deception.
oh,
Assassin
man.
tank is good too, just like to throw that in
Yes.
there.
Assassin
I've
tanks are
always felt-
excellent right now.
They like the way that if you have a good assassin who like plays and bad assassin tanks are bad assassin tanks. Like there's no class that's easier to be a bad tank on than an assassin, I think. But like a good assassin who really like understands the intricacies of that class can do like amazing things on boss fights.
Yes. And part of that is Shroud. Because
Yes.
Shroud. Shroud is just like, it is probably the most powerful PvE defensive ability in the game. Other than maybe Saber Reflect, but there's just Saber Reflect is just kind of spotty in these operations, so Shroud goes back to being king again.
What is the one mistake that most assassins make? So I'm sure that you both have like people that come new into the guild and like they're like, "Oh, help me, senpai," and you're like, "Let me teach you." So what is the one thing that you see that the mistake that most assassins make?
Stop double clicking your death fields.
Stop using Force Lightning, please. I want to like gouge my eyes out every time I see an assassin DPS use Force Lightning.
Especially in PvP, don't double click your death fields. Aim them.
Oh yeah. Like those two things are probably like it. Your death field is so much better if you place it, because you hit so many more targets if you place it,
Oh, and
and you learn to place it well.
keep track of your dots when you're dot spreading, because I see a lot of, like, that's like a big DPS loss for a lot of sins. It's make sure that you actually have both dots on something when you death field, because your standard rotation makes your first dot fall off in between death field, so make sure you reapply it before you death field.
Yeah, when you death field, you basically switch from keeping that space between your dots to almost just one after the other to make sure that they're both there. When you get better at keeping track of your dots, you can not do that, but you'd have to get better at tracking your dots.
Here's a question that everyone always has. What augments for DPS?
Alacrity.
A couple alacrity. I don't know about full alacrity.
I use like half alacrity, half willpower.
I finished up some. I updated the code I had written to account for alacrity augments, and the code I wrote spat back out. You should use 5 alacrity augments, and then the rest willpower for both specs, actually, which surprised me a little bit, but.
Well,
Alacrity is, with the low tertiary budget right now, Alacrity is really strong. In a couple of tiers of gear, I can't say that'll hold, but for right now, a couple of Alacrity augments will probably do you some good.
I feel like that's always the case, like early on with like a new expansion, like Alacrity and Crit perform well, but later on it's like meh.
Crit actually gets has in the past gotten better as you get further into an expansion.
I guess
Because
I
you
play
have-
Sork, and like Crit is like a random concept to us.
Yeah, you basically get more weapon power, you get more force power, you get more surge, because you need fewer pieces to hit the 100% accuracy to not risk missing a death field. You basically just have more of all these other stats, and as your total stat budget goes up, your total damage is going to rise, and your crit damage especially will rise as surge goes up. So you're going to see crit become a little more valuable.
Okay.
So there's that. For
See.
crit becoming better as you get further on.
Since we're speaking about math things, what are the DPS numbers that assassins should be hitting? Like, if somebody in, let's say, story mode gear goes, like, an average player, like, what should the number that they get on, like, a dummy be?
Average or really skilled?
Average.
4,500.
In story mode gear?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty close.
4,450, 4,500.
For both specs at this point, they're too close to even bother differentiating.
Okay. So do you hear that, people? Go do yourself. That's the wrong word. Go parse. And if you don't get that, then you know you're doing something wrong. If that's your gear, or if you have better gear and that's not the number that you're hitting, you know you're doing it wrong. And so I guess here's I am somebody who I've played the same class basically since launch because I love it. Why do you play Assassin? Tenebris, like, why do you play it? Why is that your class?
I'm playing since launch, and I fell in love with 15k mauls back when Armor Pen was broken. But
Oh,
I don't
man.
know. I mean, there's not really any reason for me to be playing it anymore.
Does
Probably
that
gonna
make you
switch-
sad?
It's depressing. I mean,
Yes, it's very depressing.
I like getting my first clears on my Sin and stuff like that, and I have every like pre-nerf title on a Sin and all that nonsense. So I mean, I'm gonna continue to get all that stuff, but I just can't. I don't know why anyone would play Assassin. Aside from like the 3 fights Assassins are amazing on, there's really no reason to play them anymore.
Welcome to Operative Scoundrel.
At least you can always
Yes.
heal.
I know, that's like it. It's like, you could always heal.
Yeah, but
I
operative
switched to healing.
Couldn't
It's not
Assassin be like,
the
you
best.
could always tank?
Yeah, except trying to switch from Assassin DPS to Assassin Tank. Assassin tank is easily the hardest learning curve of any of the tanks.
Yeah.
Hands
I
down,
will
like-
concur because
Yeah.
you've got a window that you've got to get your abilities used in, and if you don't, you lose a lot of your defenses.
And actually, people don't realize, but refreshing your Dark Ward on cooldown is as bad as letting your...
Oh yeah, because it
Dark
gets rid of your
protection fall off.
stacks of your extra.
It's almost as bad.
Yeah.
Listen, I played with the worst the worst assassin tank in existence. I'm aware of the fact that it can be like the best tank or the
Oh,
worst.
you've yet to have to try to heal an assassin who forgot to equip their shield generator. Okay?
Syntank
she
is
did
very,
shit like
very
that.
easy. Please stop talking about it being hard. It's the easiest. It's the easiest thing in the world.
No, because you like are not an idiot, Tenebris. Like there are people that play. You have to. You guys like this is one thing you guys understand. Like the majority of this game, the players that play this game, like they just don't have like the game IQ to
So,
understand
Tenebris,
some of the interests. Like
I would
it's
like to
easy-
share...
Yeah.
It's easier than any other DPS class. Assassin Tank is the only thing, one of two things in the entire game that have a set rotation where you can press the same buttons over and over again and lose no mitigation.
Well,
Yeah, but if you don't understand defensives, then like you're screwed.
but
like
isn't
on a
power
PvP,
tech
it's
like
so- no,
easier?
Yes, power tank
Yeah,
is even
and
easier.
it's like that whole argument that you were making with assassin DPS. Like you could do it, it's viable, but it's not ideal because it's
But
harder.
assassin is
Except the
better.
thing is,
In
like-
the right hands, assassin is a better
Oh
tank.
yeah,
Assassin
yeah.
Tank is viable though.
That's mainly because of Shroud. At like making a lot of boss fights. a lot
Partly because
easier.
of Shroud. Because
that's
a really
part of
well
it.
played assassin tank will typically take less damage than the other tanks.
Yeah, and who
I mean,
hasn't
PTs
had
are
like
in
a
a-
clutch assassin tank B-res? Like at some point.
That's true too. Like it's the toolkit that they bring.
Yes, it is.
And like
Yeah, go.
it is very easy to be bad in assassin tank. It's just also once you understand what you're doing, what you need to do, how to mitigate damage as an assassin tank, it should become mindless. It should become I'm going to shock, thrash, discharge if I have to, and now you want to discharge with the new proc because 3.5k crits on 8 enemies is a lot of damage for a tank. So it's like shock, thrash, discharge, wither, shock, force light. GG.
Yeah,
That's
'cause
your
used to-
rotation.
Used to only do it to refresh the debuff.
But with the new like 70% damage boost
Yeah.
it gets from your proc there, and the like also 15% additional damage it got boosted for in the past couple patches, it just does so much damage now that you want to use it in your rotation regularly, almost on cooldown. As long as you have that proc, you're gonna use it because it's more threat than assassinate.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put it this way: I stopped assassin tanking because it was boringly easy.
Yeah.
But then you gotta realize there are people out there.
You're good.
I stopped playing.
argument.
I stopped playing Gunslinger because of the same thing. So
So story time again. I was doing a Dread Palace hard mode for kicks and giggles, and I had a couple of my casual friends playing. One was healing, and another was on his Juggernaut. And there was an assassin tank in there with us, and we get to Tyrants, and the assassin tank squishes in the first 5 seconds. He just dies. And so I step in, I tank Tyrants for a little bit in Madness back in 2.9. And I'm tanking him, I'm spiking pretty hard, but I'm living. The tank comes back up because they battle res him, goes in, and 20 seconds later he's dead again. Because he didn't equip his shield generator. And so I ended up as a DPS assassin, without switching to tank stance, tanking it better than he was. So it's very possible to be very, very, very bad.
well, assassins were like kind of the tank for that fight.
Oh yeah, because you
Right.
switched to hybrid spec for that fight and you just laughed.
Oh yeah, you just because you could vanish out, taunt, use your like the damage reduction from coming out of stealth, and then using your sneak or whatever the heck it was.
You could
Yeah,
literally just have your co-tank taunt to take a simplification and then go back to tanking it yourself and just tank the whole fight.
Oh yeah, it was fun doing that fight with the shadow tank. So
All right, so why do you play assassin? Like, why was it? Why do you
This is the
love
coolest
like
class
it?
ever.
Lightning.
Like, not even force light.
I
Like
was kidding.
you have stealth. You used to have self heals, but I don't really miss the self heals as much as a lot of people do. You have a double bladed lightsaber. You stab people in the back. What's not to like?
Like, I'll be honest, the one class that like I wanted to level for a long time is an assassin because I think they're badass, but I don't level things. So
I'm holding out for a triple bladed lightsaber.
Don't make me cut you with
On
my
that
single
note.
bladed lightsaber.
on that note, oh no, we have one more thing. I actually forgot because I didn't put it on the other notes. This week in Reddit.
Woo!
So this week in Reddit, somebody posted this today actually, and I thought it was interesting. And it is social legacy and valor level ID overhaul idea. Okay, so these systems have been particularly useless and neglected by BioWare since the game launched over 3 years ago. So basically, they want like for there to remove the level caps, add new items to the PvP and social vendors at higher levels, and add new perks for unlocks. And so, like this one for me, I've said this before. Like Valor has been level Valor 100 for an eternity, like for a year and a half. And so, it would be nice if they actually did something with that.
Legacy 50 says hi.
What do you mean?
Waste of development resources says hi.
Yeah. The collector's edition vendor says hi too.
It's okay, Malgus.
You like? I guess is it a waste? I guess it is a waste. It doesn't like people like that stuff though. They
The
like
thing is, like, what are you going to add that is going to be better than rebalancing the game? What are you going to add that's better than making Melee fun to play in operations again? What are you
But,
going to
like,
add
those
that's better
teams are
than seeing a
different.
more diversified ranked,
You
especially
don't
group
necessarily
ranked
have to give up
population?
anything.
yeah, playing devil's advocate and arguing the side that I don't want to. Like, aren't those teams different? Like, isn't
Yes, but BioWare
balancing-
still has a fixed budget.
Couldn't they get like one guy to do stuff? Like one guy's programming a database here for them, and in his spare time, and you're telling me you can't do that with the resources that you have?
I'm gonna plead the fifth on this one.
Okay, yeah. Oh,
I mean, they could do a lot of things, but let's be real. Would you rather have more Valor levels, or would you rather have new content? Because I'd rather have new content.
I'd rather have new content.
Yeah.
But that's like that. Yeah.
isn't
I
that the
actually think I'd rather have
version
new
of
cartel
content?
market stuff.
No, don't.
Like, honestly, it's so useless.
Well,
Who cares?
Yeah, that's all
cares?
people care about when the data mining posts come out. That really surprised me.
That's all people care about.
It's
That
just
is this game.
cartel market images.
That is this game. That's what people want, and that's what they cater to. So, Justin has brought up a point, and I actually this is something that happened earlier this week. If somebody made a post on the forums on the SWTOR forums about having like crowdfunding for SWTOR, like what if we could crowdfund what we wanted to be developed? It'll never happen, but wouldn't that be interesting? Like, wouldn't it be cool to see what got crowdfunded and then if they delivered?
It would
A,
be
they wouldn't
interesting.
deliver. B, people are stupid and would pick terrible things.
Do you think so? I think that the
And
people that would
EA
actually like fund it are people that would like want actual content. What if there
I
was a
don't know,
crowdfund for bringing 8v8s back?
I feel that EA would quickly turn that around if there was any interest in it, and would hold game features hostage if they weren't community funded enough.
Yep.
I think that's where it would end up. Not necessarily right away. Oh, you want your HV8s back? Yeah, it'd be a real shame if you didn't raise the $50,000 to unlock them. A real shame.
All right. So that's the episode.
That's me being cynical.
Yeah, well, that's your job, Minor. That's what you're
Yes.
here for. Cynicalism and spiraling us off into random directions that I have no way of clawing back from.
Yeah.
About that lethality operative.
Yeah,
Yes. about that lethality operative. Like, the spec is broken. It's been broken. Worse than assassins.
But you can't complain about lethality operative when you have concealment operative, which hard counters the 2 best specs in the game.
Okay, like, concealment isn't bad right now. It is not
I
bad.
tried dueling a concealment operative in Deception. That was excessively unpleasant.
Played to its maximum, concealment is very hard to counter, and Snave's 1v1 tournaments have proved this. But the second that you stop playing at 100%, you just die.
Well, yeah,
Wait, so you mean you have to play the game to be good at it? No.
Like, if you're at 100%, if you're playing the game, the operative is a very skill-dependent spec versus, like, Assassin, where you could be a lot less skilled and do okay, mainly because of the defenses. But operatives is just like, if you're really skillful, there's not a whole lot that can stand up against you.
Unless you're playing lethality, and then it's just you can just.
And then lethality, you just die because you got nothing.
Yeah, but you do massive amounts of damage.
Well, you can't spread your dots at range. It's not even 10 meters. You got to get right up next to it with a 45-degree cone, okay, that spreads out from your character that goes 10 meters at its maximum, and people can jump to get out of it because it's a cone.
Bro, do we have to cut this whole bit out, deal?
No. Leaving it all in.
Yeah, you have to.
Go.
Okay, anything else? Anyone?
My only this week in Reddit is apparently.
You don't get it this week in
I
Reddit.
totally do, because this is
That is
like
my
my entire.
book.
This is my entire
No.
contribution to the episode.
All right,
Is
go.
apparently Bastion is the source of all drama in the game.
Oh,
Hey, we need to get
being
hate mail
one of the
from
most
somewhere.
dramaful people on the
Oh,
Bastion.
didn't cover that Torhead's offline now too. That happened this week.
Yeah. Torhead is offline.
Torhead is now offline and redirecting to SWOTOR.com, and people are going nuts looking for something to
Why
replace it.
why doesn't Hayward contact them and say, how about you redirect to this instead?
That
Or
would be a lot of
Dolphy.
traffic.
I mean, it's fair game either way.
Dolphy doesn't
Yeah.
have a database, and
Oh.
we're going strictly on the database aspect.
Oh, okay.
Well, ideally, they wouldn't favor necessarily either of the two that are currently vying for the control. Just give them a page where they can redirect to the two ones that are currently being constructed.
How about whoever reaches out to the thing and asks for it can have it? Let's let's go back to being competitive a little bit. Anyway,
Hey.
Kumbaya, suck my dick, and cut that out, please.
Making the edit. Alright, so is that it for everyone? It's a riveting discussion
That's-
about stuff that I have no idea about. Which is pretty much every episode, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard being a casual,
Thanks,
guys.
Road.
You just don't know. You just don't know,
Yeah.
okay? Alright,
life.
so I guess that...
It's super tough road being a casual.
You don't know. Alright? You don't know. Oh, look, I have to go through and think of how I'm going to decorate my stronghold and what I'm going to do to earn credits that's not tedious and boring and, finding ways to play the game without actually having to play the game is
Get a
really
100%
hard.
of bestiary. Yeah, I'm aware.
Getting really, really lucky at, cartel packs and no one buying any of the crap that you get really lucky on. This is my life, people. This is what I have to deal with, okay? Real problems. Economy.
The drop rate on some of those pack items. Can you imagine the sheer number of packs that people open?
Yeah, I went with 4, and I got a couple of really good things, so I'm just going to go with my drop rates were a success this time. So, yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and start rounding this show down. So, one more time with our contact information. If you'd like to get hold of us, you can find us, of course, at TOROCast.com to read and comment. It happens sometimes. TOROCast.com is where all the things are at. I just got completely sidetracked by myself. That's great. Hate and subscribe on iTunes. That happens sometimes. It's decent. TOROCast.com/feed if you use iTunes. Email us at road@TOROCast.com, at TOROCast on the Twitter. We are part of the Twangamer family at podcast at TwanGamer.com for now. You can find us every Sunday at twitch.tv/TwanGamer, roughly 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And of course, you can go to TwanGamer.com/audible for your free 30-day trial. One free audio token. Do it. It's free. Audiobooks are great. Yes, as commented in the chat, audiobooks are great. And I love audiobooks. And I'd love it if people would use that link. That'd be fantastic, too. May, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at maybebuzz or on my blog, maybebuzzes.weebly.com, or on Tor Community where I do weekly news and stuff.
Okay, then. Minor, where can people find you outside your closet?
Well, currently,
Where are you currently residing at this moment? So we can send
currently
the task
residing
force?
in front of the computer on the stream. So I'm on Twitter. I'm Sotor_Miner. I'm also on Reddit. I'm constructing a database for Tor Community. So you could probably message me on their forums and I'll get it. I have a user over there. I believe it's Sotor_Miner too. So yeah.
Okay, then. Tenebrous, where can we find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at TenebrusTOR, or on Twitch at twitch.tv/TenebrusTOR, or you can come visit our guild site, dtguilds.com. Yeah.
That'll work. And...
Stream, did you link your stream?
Oh, yes.
I mentioned my stream,
Okay,
twitch.tv/TenebrusTOR.
Okay, I
Mention it 2 or 3 more times if you want.
Yeah, keep going.
Just do it 3 more times.
You need to outview ROM for like my grand scheme of this episode to be complete or something. I'm just kidding. There was no grand scheme.
Oh,
Well
man.
then.
Awkward.
That was
Well,
a
where
tangent
can
that
I
completely
find
threw me
you?
off.
Yeah,
Well.
stop.
Oh, what was that?
Oh, the show's a train wreck. Which is convenient, considering that's what we're going to. Anyway, so, yes, and for our lovely cast member that doesn't have a Twitter, where can we find you? What places are you available?
You can find me in-game or on the forums. Message me at Elanis. You can send me a PM or...
And how do you spell that?
Right in the Assassin forum. AELANIS.
There we go.
If you make a post in the Assassin forums, I'll probably see it, though. I kind of don't leave there.
Kind of like Miner in his closet. That's fine.
A little
I
bit.
guess. Everyone
Or
has
you
work.
can,
I hate you. Justin, I hate you so much right now.
I don't know what the context of that is, but I'm sure it's funny. Okay. And now I know what's going on. You should get Twitter. Twitter's great. There's a lot of really bad people on Twitter, but there's a couple of good ones.
No, it sucks your soul away, and you like get like drunk, and then you like check it, and then you're like, I'm gonna be witty, or you're like, I'm gonna be mean, and then you like say things, and you like regret it later.
You sound like Kevin Smith now.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's not a bad thing to be compared to. So I'll
Not
take
really,
it.
no. I'm pretty fond of that. Or you could just be like me and have like 7 Twitter accounts. Because why have any life? But you can find one of those Twitter accounts at That Road Guy, or send all of your emails for topic suggestions, questions for the hosts, commentary, whatever, pictures of your dog. That was a thing that happened for a little while. Send all those to road@torcast.com.
I thought that was going to go another way for a second there.
What direction did you think it was going to go to?
Send all your pictures of your dog.
And with all of that said, that's it.
That's definitely it.
I'm turning the recording off now.
That's a good idea.
Damn it, Miner.
I had to say it. You started with it and said all your pictures of your dog.
No, I was... Pills! It's not my fault. This is why I'm, like, completely disconnected today. It's just...
I can't control Miner. That is
No,
like all
nothing
on you.
can control Miner. There's no controlling the Miner.
I am an unstoppable force.
Does that make me the immovable object?
Well, I mean...
What happened in the last 4 minutes? I don't know. It's chaos.
That's okay.
That's every episode.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's just... You guys don't know. You need to listen to the parts that we cut out of the show. Like the first 20 minutes. Oh, wow. So, in that time, I have managed to log into the game, jump once, and get immediately stuck in my own stronghold. This is my life. It's just...
I managed to get stuck in my throne once. That was interesting.
the worst.
Did you run out of toilet
ever.
paper?
No, just on top of it.
Terrible joke is terrible.
Yeah, it was a terrible joke.
Yeah.
I ignored it.
That's probably
I
fast.
tried to jump on top, all the way on top of one of the dreadful thrones, and I managed to get into that little tiny nook where it's got the two things that look kind of like a battlement. And I got stuck in that little nook, and I couldn't move, couldn't run, couldn't activate most of my abilities. Just hanging out,
That sounds dreadful.
floating.
I hate myself so much.
That's,
All I've got.
we all hate you.
That's
We all hate
fine.
you too, Red.
Oh. What is this nonsense?
Thanks everybody for watching.
Yeah.
And for that one guy that dropped a link in the chat.
Yeah, did
Screw
you
that
click
guy.
it? I didn't want to click it. I was
No,
scared.
I banned his ass. Hell with that.
Oh, I was
That's what I
scared
do.
maybe...
Minor caused a road wreck. Damn it.
Oh, there's another one road. It's
You
like the
son of a-
new- You can't do it.
I need a bot. That's what I need. I need a bot. I need to be a real streamer. So that one person that left the chat earlier won't get mad at us for not starting in gameplay.
Are you a real streamer like Tenebris? Tenebris, you should tell them your Twitch channel.
God damn it, May.
Justin was right. I was totally smoking. I didn't pay attention at all.
Well, with all of that said, we're going to cut the stream off here because it couldn't possibly get any worse, but I'm not going to tempt fate.
Oh, we could.
I'm not going to tempt fate. And with all that said, goodbye.
That's it.
I was going for something different, but that works too.